Hello, and welcome to Monmouth College's Summer Orientation Program supporting student success. My name is Marnie Dugan, and I serve as the director of the Wackerly Center for Career Leadership and Fellowships on campus. A co-presenter who unfortunately is not joining us today is Regina Johnson, who is our Director of Multicultural Student Services on campus. Throughout the presentation today, I will be talking about services that we provide to students that come from both Regina and I's area, as well as a number of other offices and departments on campus. And so we'll hit a variety of ways that we support your student and student success during their time at Monmouth College. Fun fact, Regina and I are also both alums of Monmouth College as well. So one of the first things that we have to, talk about and just kind of review before we get to all of the different ways that we support students is just talking about this time of transition and what that means for your student and this adjustment period. And not just for your student, but also for you as a parent. Obviously that transition holds true for us as parents as well. And we are navigating a change as our sons and daughters are heading off to college. And so some of the things that your student needs to be prepared for: the new community, new living arrangements. Some of your students may have never shared a room with anyone. So that may be an adjustment and something new for them. The food in the cafeteria, maybe your sons and daughters are particular or picky or request their favorites on a regular basis. That will all change, and there will be an adjustment to, the cafeteria food, and also preparing food in their dorm and what that looks like. And so again, students, this is a time of transition and kind of learning about themselves and realizing that they can kind of figure some things out on their own. They won't have mom cooking their favorite meal each night, but they can identify, what are their favorites in the cafeteria and what are their kind of go-to, meals when they're needing kind of that comfort food. Also the adjustment with first generation concerns and maybe additional, challenges that a first generation student might see in that adjustment when they maybe don't have as much familiarity about what, heading off to college might look like. So things to consider as we talk through the session today, as you'll see when I go through the slides. Students will be experiencing new freedoms. They'll be experiencing not just the separation from you, from their homes, from their families, but from their friends and their, communities for which they've grown up. They'll be experiencing independence, which is also sometimes interesting in the first few months of college. And so these are all things that we'll talk through in our presentation today and help provide you some resources so that you can direct your students accordingly as they're navigating the adjustment. So ultimately, what this means and what will kind of culminate in the presentation today is that we are here to help. So as we move through the slides, you'll learn about the people, the programs, and the services, how we support your student during their time at Monmouth College. And so hopefully by the end of the presentation, you'll have a few really great takeaways as far as how to direct your students when they might have challenges or maybe be struggling a little bit during their time at Monmouth, and how you can kind of direct them to seek out, to advocate for themselves and to seek out those resources, the people and the programs that are going to benefit them and help them get through, the ups and downs of their time at Monmouth. So as we begin and we think about how to support your students' success, I've already kind of talked significantly about, the fact that we need to realize there's a transition for you and your student, and encourage open and honest communication. So uh, have those conversations with your sons and daughters, making sure that you're aware of the things that they are navigating, helping them navigate the processes, the procedures, things like that, but also helping direct them in how to navigate that. That's one of the key things for them to learn, is to advocate for themselves and to know that they will have some responsibility in you know, their own education for sure, but also responsibility in seeking out the resources and utilizing them, even though I'm gonna, share a variety of different things that are available to your students during their time at Monmouth. Those resources exist, but the student actually has to, advocate and actually use the resources that are here for them. So encourage that. Encourage a good relationship with a roommate. Sometimes that's a time of transition, and honestly, sometimes they have to navigate what that might look like to change roommates, and that's fine. But encourage them to not just immediately need to make a roommate change, but encourage them to work through, especially those first few weeks, and seek out direction, have open communication with their roommates, talk to their head residents and their resident assistants, and get direction in how to navigate some of, what that might look like with any sort of roommate challenges. Encourage campus involvement. Especially in the first few weeks, it's really, really important to encourage your students to stay on campus, to encourage them to get out of their rooms, to encourage them to find ways to engage on campus. It's really going to make for a much better college experience for them, because in those first few weeks, they're able to kind of find their people, if you will, find the groups, find their communities, find the organizations and the programs for which they are wanting to, be involved with and get excited about. Again, know the campus resources. We'll talk through that. Trust your own instincts. We all know that our sons and daughters may tell us, that they're fine and everything's great and their courses are great and they're doing peachy. But sometimes we can tell by our own instincts that maybe the tone of their voice, or just the lack of communication from them, that maybe they're struggling, even if they're not verbalizing that to us. So if you have a concern and are unsure, I would encourage you, again, continue that conversation with your son and daughter and encourage them to seek out assistance or resources, either through their faculty advisor, through a coach if they're a student athlete, through maybe a HR or RA in their residence hall. As you'll see throughout the presentation, there are plenty of folks that are here to support your student. And depending on what the challenges that they are facing, they may determine who's the best person to seek assistance from at first. And believe in your student as they navigate their college experience. So one of the things that we like to highlight is the value of a liberal arts degree. So at Monmouth College, the educational experience that your student will have really is a phenomenal experience. It's our liberal arts degree, and the qualities that a student attains following their experience at Monmouth College really leads them to be highly competitive. So as the director of the Career Center, we hear very consistently from employers that the main competencies, those key skills and competencies that employers are looking for, very much align with the key skills and competencies that are delivered through an experience like the educational experience at Monmouth College. Critical thinking, problem solving, communication skills, those are all at the top of those competencies that employers are seeking. Those are also the key skills that a Monmouth College graduate possesses when they leave to go out into the work world. And so also along those same lines, our new core curriculum will really have a focus on engagement and the engagement piece of that, which is really important. And again, also falls with the competencies that the employers are looking for and are seeking in their new hires. So community engagement, what that involvement looks like, volunteers, service learning, things of that nature, the global aspect and the global learning, the identity, diversity, and equity piece, and how that plays into their overall educational experiences, and languages and cultures. So that piece will be enhanced in our new core curriculum, and that engagement piece is kind of a combination between both learning in classrooms, so the experiences that they may have in a course, a course that has a global emphasis on it with regard to global learning, or maybe it is an experience such as a study abroad experience. And so we're excited to incorporate more of those experiential things as a piece of our core curriculum as well. Developing tomorrow's leaders. So as I mentioned in my title, I serve as the director of the Career and Leadership Center. And so we oversee the leadership development programming across campus, including I serve as the coordinator of the Stockdale Fellows program, which is our premier leadership and scholarship program on campus. And so the way we approach leadership and the way we work with our students for leadership development is on this philosophy. So we look at the personal level. What does leadership look like on a personal level? What's that exploratory piece? What do you know about yourself as a leader? How do you develop your own personal philosophy of leadership? We all know that leadership looks very different. It's not always the loudest person at the front of the room. There are many quiet leaders, but sometimes quiet students don't understand their ability to grow and develop as a leader if they've always thought leadership to be the loud person at the front of the room. And so how do you develop as a leader? How do you grow and develop and understand what leadership looks like to you? How do you lead? How do you engage in your own personal growth and development with your leadership skills, your leadership style? Leadership at the community level. What does that look like? How do you lead within a community? How do you bring a group of people together for a shared vision or a shared goal? How are you making an impact on your community, whether it be the campus community, the local community, your global community? What does that look like? Leadership at the organizational level, which is kind of more of the nuts and bolts of leadership. How do you learn to move an organization forward? How are you navigating conflict management, communication, delegating, all of those things that happen organizationally? And then leadership at the transition level. And what we're talking about here is how a student recognizes that, during their time on campus, we may often refer to them as student leaders, but as they're transitioning from being a student to actually kind of launching into their career or launching into whatever their next step post Monmouth may be. Maybe that's a service program, maybe that's graduate or professional school, but how do they then transfer all of that, all that they've learned, their growth and development as a leader? How do they transition and transfer that then into their next, their next stop post Monmouth? So what does that look like as they are moving forward at the organization for which they may be employed, or at the graduate school? How do they contribute there based on what they've learned as a leader here on our campus? Advising. So at Monmouth College, advising is extremely important to us. We take a holistic advising approach, which we'll talk through in the next couple of slides. We really try to empower our students, again, as I mentioned earlier, to advocate for themselves, to be able to gather the information that they need, to be able to ask questions, to be able to seek out and explore in a variety of different ways in order to inform their decisions, both their academic and their career decisions. And so really looking at a holistic approach to advising. So what we mean by that is conversations are happening a variety of different ways with a variety of different people. So, you know, your student will have their primary academic advisor. Those conversations will happen as it relates to their academic goals. Those conversations are not just specific to, you know, here we're registering for these 4 classes and we'll see you next semester when you register for the next 4 classes. You know, they're in-depth conversations about the coursework, about their academic plan, in-depth conversations about their career aspiration and their goals. Maybe it's a conversation about, you know, their athletic experience and how their team is doing. Maybe it's a conversation about, you know, their study abroad experience. Maybe it's just a conversation about, how are you doing? Are you okay? You know, maybe the student is struggling in a course, maybe they're struggling with something in their personal life. We want to make sure that the students are doing well both in and out of the classroom. And so those conversations happen. Conversations that may be happening as far as advising with your athletic coaches. They very much serve as an advising role in mentoring for students and helping them connect for some of those experiential things, helping them connect with other student athletes, helping them connect with the Monmouth College Alumni Network. The first year experience through our ILA course, the Intro to Liberal Arts class, there will be, you know, a number of different pieces that support advising through that course, as well as our first year mentors, the ILA mentors. So each ILA course, while the ILA instructor, the faculty member, serves as the advisor for students, each of those sections also has a student mentor. So one of our you know, one of our upper graduate students, or our upper level, excuse me, students serve as mentors in that class. And so that's another contact for your student as they're navigating that first year in college. Our orientation leaders, which your students, some have met through summer orientation and will meet again and engage with when students first get back to campus through that orientation period. So again, friendly faces that they can reach out to when they're in need of some assistance. All of these things, all of the advising pieces support meaningful connections across campus with other students, with faculty, with staff, with coaches, in order for us to support, again, your student success both in and out of the classroom. Wellness is a huge piece as far as our overall support for students, and a number of different offices and departments across campus work to support your student wellness. Campus safety, our head residents and our resident assistants oftentimes are the first kind of line of support for students who may be struggling, you know, with, you know, emotional challenges, mental health challenges, maybe again conflict with other student or roommate. HRs, RAs are often one of the first you know, kind of groups of people that students can seek assistance from. They are highly trained. They work well in assisting with students and know the campus and the campus resources inside and out. The Title IX and Title VI office supports student wellness. If a student should have any issue with sexual harassment or discrimination, that is the office that would work with the students to help navigate that process, to work through the process, to identify support services that may be needed for the student. All of that happens through the Title IX, Title VI office. Our counseling center on campus, we have 2 full-time counselors to support our students' wellness, both and for their mental wellness. The chaplain's office, the Office of Religious and Spiritual Life, we will be also opening a brand new wellness center on campus that we're excited about, to be able to, again, better support students' physical wellness, as well as their mental wellness. And then activities on campus, intramurals, the Huff Athletic Center, the Trotter Fitness Center, again, are all areas that are available to, again, help support students and their physical well-being. Career, as we've kind of hit on a little bit, again, we also take a holistic advising approach from the career side of the house as well. We really try to work with students early on. We try to meet with all first-year students in some capacity, whether we're meeting one-on-one or whether we're visiting their ILA class, so that we can introduce them to our office and the work that we do. We think it's very important for students to early on in the process be able to start connecting their academic and their career goals. Students that may come in as undecided, opportunities for major and career exploration, which is very important, and a lot of the support that we can provide is that exploratory work, helping students with personality assessments and interest inventories that we can, help students through our office with, as well as access to the Monmouth Alumni Network for exploratory types of things, such as a job shadow or an internship, or even just a informational interview or conversation with an alum that might be working in the capacity that the student might have an interest in as far as that career field. We assist students with graduate and professional school. And again, as I said, we work closely with the Monmouth Alumni Network, also faculty, parents, other staff, to try to make good connections for students. I gave an example in the summer orientation last Saturday of an alum that I recently worked with. I had a young man who had graduated in class of 2017. He actually reached out to me. The student has already has a graduate degree and has been working in higher ed and student affairs for since his graduation from Monmouth, so for a number of years, but he is now looking to apply to law school. He wants to kind of make a turn and apply to law school. And so as an alum, he reached out to the Career Center. I talked with him. We talked about his law school preparation, but then as we closed the conversation, within a couple of days, I had connected him with actually Hadley Smith-Heisler, who's in the picture kind of smiling at the picture below. Hadley just finished her first year at law school at Indiana University. And so she was a great connection for this alum because she had recently been through the law school application and admission process. I connected him with another alum that's a practicing attorney in the Florida area that, similar to this alum, had a kind of multiple graduate degrees and has just started practicing law. And then I connected him with our pre-law advisor on campus, one of our political science faculty members, Professor Audette, who wasn't here when this alum was a student here, but I connected him with Professor Audette for additional resources and support. So that's one example of kind of how those connections come come together to help a student as they're kind of navigating some of the processes. That's an example of an alum. So side note, our services are available throughout your student's lifetime. So they graduate from Monmouth, they get their first job, everything's good. 3, 4, 10 years out, they decide they want to make a career change. They're always welcome to come back. We're happy to help them with their resume, reconnect them with other alums, help them prep for an interview, or share with them, again, services and resources that our office has available. Graduate and professional school, we've already talked a little bit about. We host a graduate school fair every year. We assist students with research and preparation for graduate school. A lot of what we do is just helping students stay organized, keeping them on track, making sure they're meeting deadlines, talking with them about who appropriate recommenders might be, assisting with their writing for their graduate school applications, their resumes, their personal statements, etc. We also have a number of resources for test prep for graduate programs as well. Students will very much work with their faculty advisors in identifying maybe the best fit programs and schools. But on our end, through the Career Services Office, again, we do a lot of help keeping them organized and moving through the process smoothly. I also advise for nationally competitive scholarships and fellowships, similar to the grad school process. A lot of what we do in assisting students for these highly competitive programs is, again, helping them stay organized. We promote the opportunities. We help them with their application components. These types of programs, and this is just kind of a sampling, these are some of the programs that our students seem to be best suited for and most competitive for. But this process, again, is highly competitive, and it's time consuming. It's not just, when you're writing for this type of application, it's not just 1 or 2 drafts. It may be 10 drafts of a personal statement or a grant proposal. And so our office, again, helps students stay organized. We help them find the best guidance and assistance, whether it be the appropriate faculty member, whether it be an alum, whether it be a staff member that has experience, coming from one of these programs. Will connect them so that they can get, the best direction they can through the application process to make them most competitive. So all of this culminates into Scott's success. And what do we mean by that? So as we talked through the slides in the presentation today, we talked about supporting your student success, and ultimately, we want our students to go on and do meaningful things post Monmouth. And most of you are probably familiar. Schools do what they call a first destination survey. At Monmouth, we also do the first destination survey. So for the class of 2020, so when we survey students about 6 months post Monmouth, post graduation, to figure out kind of where they landed, what was their first destination when they left Monmouth. For the class of 2020, 98% indicated that they were employed or in graduate school around that time frame, 6 months after graduation. The breakdown for the class of 2020, we had 81% employed while 19% were in graduate school. So again, all of the support, the services, the things that I've highlighted throughout the presentation today ultimately, culminates into our students not just successfully, navigating their time at Monmouth and making it to commencement on Wallace Lawn, but also what's that first step post Monmouth and their success after they leave here and go out into the real world, if you will. So that concludes the presentation today. So thanks for joining us and talking through our presentation, listening today. A couple of takeaways, if I could leave you with a couple of takeaways. I would say one of the main things is most of the services and the resources that I have mentioned today are available throughout the ACE, which stands for Academic and Career Excellence. The Wackerly Center is located there. The registrar's office is located there. If students need to add drop classes, change their major, work on their degree plan, the Office of Global Engagement is there for students who are interested in study abroad or short-term trips. Our Student Success and Accessibility Services office is also located in the ACE. So that's tutoring, academic coaching, accommodations for students that may need accommodations, as well as the Regina and her resources for our underrepresented and first generation students are also housed in the ACE as well. So one key takeaway from today's presentation would be, if you're talking with your students and they know that they might be struggling or need some direction or need some assistance, you can always send them to the ACE. So you can ask them, have you talked to anybody at the ACE? Why don't you go see someone at the ACE? We're located in the library. Your students should hopefully visit the library occasionally as well. So refer them to the ACE, located in the library across from Einstein's. A lot of the services and the resources that I talked about here today kind of generate through the ACE. And if not, we will definitely be able to direct them accordingly. So one kind of easy takeaway for you all is just to remember the ACE. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of our virtual orientation.